In Chapter 11, we're working with numeric functions. In this video, I'll discuss a few of the programs in Chapter 11. I'll demonstrate a handful of them, and I'll leave it up to you to work through the remaining ones if you so choose. What I've done here in SAS is captured the Chapter 11 programs from the file called Programs Used in the Second Edition. To run some of these, we also need to first create a SAS data set, so I've also had to zap code from the create datasets file that he supplied as well. Now for the first program, we're just looking at some basic mathematical functions. How to get an integer based on something that could be a continuous variable, how to round, how to find a ceiling, which would be like rounding up. Moving along, we have used the missing function before in the homework assignment. That's shown in programs 11.2 and 11.3 here. And now let's take a close look at program 11.4. We are inputting 10 variables. These are scores for 10 questions. And we are going to create two more variables based on these and using the n function. The n function will return the number of non-missing numeric variables. So if you look down here in the data lines, there are 9 that aren't missing for the first observation, 6 for observation 2, and we have all 10 for observation 3. Our conditional here says if n of Q1 to Q10 is greater than or equal to 7, then we'll create a new variable called score, and that's going to be the mean of these 10 scores. Now, what this is saying is, as long as I have at least 7 scores, then I'll take the average of them. But remember, for observation 2, we only have 6. So we're not going to compute a score for observation 2. Let's run this and verify that is the case. If I scroll over in the data to the score variable for my second observation, I have a missing value. All right, so remember the point of program 11.4 is how to use the n function. Moving on, let's take a look at program 11.5. The largest function enables you to extract the nth largest value. So in this code, we're finding the highest value, the second highest value, and the third highest value, and finding the sum. That's all that code is doing there. Now, let's take a close look at program 11.6. Now, program 11.6 is one of those where I had to create a data set first. Let me make sure I run this. I'll just run it right now. And the point here is showing you how you can use 0 as an argument in the sum function so that you're not getting a missing value if all of your original data is zeros. In fact, let's go back up and look at those data lines. Observation 2 has a whole bunch of missing values. So our sum function would ordinarily return a missing value there. Now I've added such a line of code in this program. The program, as the author supplied it, had line 79. I inserted line 78 here. Let's run it without the 0 argument. And take a look. And we see our total has a missing value there. But if I insert that 0 and rerun the code, then instead of a missing value, I'll just have 0, as we have here. All right, moving along. Program 11.7 just shows some more mathematical functions, finding the absolute value, square root, exponentiating, and taking a logarithm. 11.8 uses some special constants. 11.9 shows you the rand function, and we're going to look at that a little bit more closely in program 11.10. Now, random number generators aren't really random. You could specify what's known as a seed value or an initial value if you want to have the same set of random numbers each time you run your code. So in this program here, where it says call stream init and then has this number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this number here in the parentheses is your seed value. So when we run this piece of code, no matter how many times we run it, we should get the same set of values. So I've run it once, and I've got 0.158, 0.400. Let's run it a second time. I don't know if that actually ran or not. Here we go. And we've got 0.158, 0.400. If I did not have that initial value, then I would get a different set of numbers. Notice 0.462, 0.734, those are different values from what I had before. All right, now let's move on to program 11.11. Here's another one of those programs where I have to actually create the data set first before I can run the program. And let's look at the program. And here again, we're using a random number generator, but based on a uniform distribution. And what I would really like to look at now is program 11.12, just because depending on what you're doing, it may be good for you to know how to take a random sample from your data. And that's using proc survey select and specifying a method, SRS, which stands for simple random sample. And then you specify how many observations you want in your sample size. Sample size equals. You can specify however many you want from your entire data set. So in our blood data set, we had, let's see, more than 100 observations, but when we run proc survey select, we'll get fewer than that. And I have 100 rows there, but in my blood data set, I had 1,000. So in that code, from the original 1,000 rows of data, I've taken 100 of them randomly. All right, now let's move on to program 11.13. This is pretty useful, and this was something that I asked you as an extra credit on homework if you knew how to convert a character variable to numeric. Let me go ahead and run some code here. You can see that height and weight are originally input, well, and the date are originally input as character data. which seems a little bit strange, but this is just for our academic exercise of converting. When converting, we can use an input function where in parentheses we list the original variable and then the format that we want it to take. But we cannot use the same variable name for our original and our new. So you'll notice this rename clause here where we take the 3 original variables of height, weight, date, we rename them to be car height, car weight, and car date for character. And then our new ones take the variable names that we want. And then we drop the 3 that are character. So let's run this. And then I'm going to look here in my columns at this little icon to the left of my variable names. And this 1, 2, 3 is my indicator that these are numeric and not character. All right, and there's, I think that's about everything I wanted to discuss with you. Let me just scroll through. The APROC format is something that we've done already to create a grouping or a range for variables. The lag function is something that might come in handy as you get to time series. And the others I think are pretty self-explanatory, so you should be able to work through the remaining programs on your own if you're interested. That concludes this video on the numeric functions in Chapter 11.